Ms. Jackson-Akiwumi, I appreciate the comments that you've had to say about diversity. I always say that having a good input, having good relationships with individuals who are different from me and who have different points of view from me is something that is important to help me in public policy and to do a better job in representing all Tennesseans. So I appreciate the comments that you have made there. And I also noted as I looked through your record that you've represented many different clients during your tenure with the Federal Defender Program, and you've been a zealous advocate for those clients. I want to draw attention to a case where you defended a man who preyed on women for sex, trafficked, prostituted them. His victims accused him of physically restraining them with a firearm despite believing all women. You called these women liars to cast doubt on their testimonies and claimed there was no evidence from the victims' testimonies and their words were dishonest. In your sentencing memorandum, you further shamed the victims' alleged prior prostitution work to support a more lenient sentence for your client. So do you support believing survivors of sexual violence and crime?
Thank you, Senator Blackburn, for the question. I'm not sure which case you are referring to. As we've shown, I've represented more than 400 clients, and a number of those cases were sex offense cases. What I can say is that calling a victim a liar is not something that I've done in court or in written record. It is certainly my job as an attorney to examine the evidence and present questions about the evidence to the court where appropriate and where necessary. And then,
Okay. Then let's do this. Let me give you the specific case and you can submit in writing, because your sentencing memo is something that does cause me concern. And we've been through a time where a previous Supreme Court Justice, Kavanaugh, during that, we've got an issue right now with Governor Cuomo, and whether knowing where you stand on that, I think is really important. So I will get that to you in writing. Is that okay?
thank you, Senator.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Judge Jackson, I want to come back to you. In 2019, you granted a preliminary injunction against a DHS rule expanding the use of the department's statutory authority to use expedited removal procedures. The DC Circuit then reversed your injunction and found that Congress granted the DHS secretary sole and unreviewable discretion on expedited removal determination to enforce our immigration laws. Since the beginning of President Biden's term, the amount of illegal border crossings has skyrocketed, and it appears that we will exceed everything that we hit at that border in 2019. Last month, border agents took over 170,000 migrants into custody at the southern border, including 19,000 unaccompanied children. These border apprehensions have hit a 15-year high. The Biden administration's flawed immigration policy has only encouraged more and more migrants coming to the country illegally. On top of that, the administration is failing to properly handle the surge in illegal crossings and has allowed our country's borders to be overwhelmed. They have even failed to acknowledge the crisis exists. The administration's failures have caused massive suffering and endangered communities, and anyone who has not been to that border needs to go. I was astounded. So, Judge Jackson, do our Homeland Security officials lack sufficient authority to act decisively and timely to keep us safe and enforce these immigration laws?
Thank you, Senator. I've had a number of immigration cases, and in those cases, like the one you mentioned, what I'm doing is I'm evaluating the law, the immigration laws, very complex scheme, the facts in the particular case and the claims that are being made, the arguments of the parties. I'm not assessing the policy. I'm not making a determination about, sort of in a general sense of whether or not DHS officials have enough authority or any other sort of policy consideration. Given what it is that I do and that is in my purview, I can't say whether they have enough authority. What I can tell you is that in the case that you referenced that I worked on, there was a disagreement. The DC Circuit disagreed with the way I had analyzed the statute. And that sometimes happens, that judges disagree on statutory interpretations. And so they made the ruling that they made, and that's binding precedent now in our circuit for how that statute is to be interpreted.
Okay. All right, I have one other I will submit to you for writing, and it has to do with the number of reversals that you've had. But I see Senator Booker there, and Mr. Chairman, I thank you for the time.